This is the second video on skip reading. It's really going to focus on one particular example of how to do skip reading with foreign literature, or obviously in an English translation. Say you're reading a great book by a French writer or a Russian writer or a Spanish-American writer. And because of the style or the conventions of the time, the words and the place names are maybe very unrecognizable or unfamiliar to you. I've watched people try to work through this material, and they're concerned about getting the names right and the pronunciation and whatnot. By the way, I always prefer to pronounce words correctly. And about once a week, actually, well, let's say once a month, I'll be listening to an audiobook. I think it's more than that, but and the professional narrator will mispronounce a word. The latest example happened tonight. The book is called House of Morgan. It's about the Morgan banking firm, and a very interesting book by a great writer named Ron Chernow, who is one of America's best biographers and nonfiction writers. Anyway, the narrator read a line that Chernow wrote about Scylla and Charybdis. Now, those are a huge whirlpool and also a monster from Greek mythology, and they occur in the same area of the sea. So if you're a pilot, a ship pilot, a captain, we would say, and you're going between Scylla and Charybdis, that means that you are trying to just make it through a very tricky area, and there's danger on the right and danger on the left, and you have to find that middle line, Scylla and Charybdis. Well, this narrator, who's actually an excellent narrator, said Scylla and Charybdis. If anybody had just heard that before, they would have said, "Hey, fix it. This is how you say it." But here's where I'm getting at with this. I am never going to hold mispronunciation against anybody unless it's obviously a common word. That then you tell them how to pronounce it and save them embarrassment later on, right? But there are so many words, so many names that we really don't know how they should be said. The languages are too distant, or for us, I don't know German, I don't know Russian. I'm not going to be really sure how to pronounce that word. French, I have no clue, You learn as you go, but you're going to make mistakes. So, don't worry too much about pronunciation. A professor of mine said once, and I remember this, he had this kind of strange look in his eye as he told us this. He said, if you're reading aloud and you come across a name you don't know how to pronounce, pick away and then stick with it and say it nice and loud. If you're going to mispronounce it with confidence and consistency. And I thought that was pretty good advice. So anyway, to practice skip reading with an article that hits you with all these unfamiliar names, forget the names. Give each character, call them by their first initial or whatnot. All right. Skip anything that's related to local custom, names, place names, foreign language phrases. And if you just keep going, if you don't let that material stop you and destroy the reading experience, you find that you can follow the story, the core of the story. You can follow it, and many times you can enjoy it and walk away with almost all the reward that someone who knows that language and has the felicity of being able to pronounce it correctly and all of that and keep the name straight. You're going to get as much as they are if you just learn how to abbreviate, skip, and not even worry about the names that are at play, as long as you can kind of keep the character relationships distinct, especially the main ones. Many times skip reading takes on this sort of form where you stop worrying about the minor characters because maybe it's too hard to keep everything aligned right when you are dealing with the unfamiliarity of the language itself. Sure, it's English, but it's English translation, or it's so full of foreign words and foreign names that if you pay attention to that on the detail level, the reading experience gets bogged down, and then you miss the point of the story. So we actually have in this term a story for you to read that you can practice that on. It's going to be filled with names that can be distracting and disruptive. But I want you to skip right over those names and try to understand in terms of the general players. A man that is arrested, an executing officer. What more do you need to know? So that's another way to do skip reading.